Scotland, the land of all things Scotch, like tape and mist and Scotch, where chickens lay eggs that are already pre-sausage, where the Highlands flow with a strange mystical orange liquid called iron brew, and of course the birthplace of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I would love to tell you that Clans of Caledonia takes you to this wonderful place that, full disclaimer, I have so dearly fallen in love with. Honestly, Clans of Caledonia is just a standard Eurogame that takes the trope of insert X country at a Y time, where Y is a time where that country's industry just started to blossom, and uses it as the theme for an economic puzzle where you have that country's commonly produced goods as the puzzle pieces, and finally apply some Clemens Franz artwork for that lacquered layered finish, and voila! You have yourself a Eurogame.
Board games are not food. Board games are not food.
Case closed. Next review, right? In Clans of Caledonia, you will set up farms that produce various resources at the end of each round, such as sheeps, meatloaves, cheese, wheat cake, and Scotch pacifier. Spend money, buy a farm, and it will make that thing. Collect enough resources and you will be able to turn them in for a contract, which will reward you with money, or upgrades, or, in a somewhat roundabout way, victory points. Different resources have different properties. This is a sheep farm. What do sheep make? They make wool. But you can later slaughter the entire sheep farm, and slaughter is the term used in the rulebook, to acquire mutton, which is a special requirement for certain export contracts. The same can be said about cows, but cows produce milk, and milk is kind of different from wool, because if you also have a cheese farm at the end of the round, you can convert that milk into cheese, which is the only way of acquiring cheese, aside from just buying it. Wheat is also special because, unlike other farms, it costs more than double to build, but produces double the resources. And then if you also have a bread factory, you can convert one wheat into bread, and if you have a whiskey factory, you can convert one wheat into whiskey. Finally, you have people farms, and this is not some sort of Soylent Green is people reference. People farms make money. It might be social commentary still, though. Clans of Caledonia doesn't really have any predetermined paths. Instead, it chucks a constant 8 different ways to score victory points in the form of export contracts, and says it is really up to you how you get there. At the start of each round, you get paid. And when I say you get paid, I mean the game treats you like an adult and gives you an entire friggin' monthly salary. You get a large lump of Scotch pounds, and it is entirely up to you how you pound them out. Want to surround yourself with sheep upon sheep and have blankets and blankets of wool? Hey, I'm not your mother, and neither is this game. The world is your Scotch oyster. Or how about you don't build farms at all? Just buy yourself the resources you need. A niche strategy, but who's to say it doesn't work? Or what about if you want to... What am I doing here? Oh yeah! Remember your very first salary? Be honest with me. How much of it did you spend on the very first day on cakes and video games? Because I dropped like 50% of mine on World of Darkness books. No joke. Clans of Caledonia does not expect you to be a fully mature adult on your very first playthrough, and gives you a hook. These are clans, and they are effectively asymmetric abilities, economic abilities, cool economic abilities. I know that's an oxymoron. For example, Clan McDougal will let you sell milk at its full market value at all times, the highest market value, so getting a lot of milk is obviously a good strategy. Whereas Clan O'Flaherty will let you buy processed good farms at an increasingly discounted rate in processed goods such as cheese or Scotch. And finally, Clan David Tennant will let you be a real bad boy and have 2 export contracts at the same time. I really like this because they are a guidepost in a thick forest bush of economic mathy decisions. Instead of giving you a path to tread on, they give you a vague idea of a general direction, and you still have to hatchet your way through the puzzle, but at least you know where you're going and some inkling on what to spend your salary on. Another thing I really like is this market. Just like in real life, instead of growing cheese, you can just buy it. Each time you purchase something, the global price for it is affected and it goes up. Whereas anytime anyone sells something, the global price for it goes down. Steel yourself there, Glasgow Analytica boy, because you're about to do some manipulation. Your opponent right here just got themselves a juicy contract. That contract requires 4 barrels of whiskey. Barrels of whiskey they don't have, and then you look at the board and they don't even make whiskey. They don't even make wheat, so there's no way they're gonna make that whiskey. They're planning on buying it, and whiskey right now is super cheap. So what do? You buy a lot of whiskey, ratcheting up the price. And then for good measure, you build some more whiskey farms and place them on the board, making even more whiskey. And then, once your opponent inevitably buys the 4 barrels of whiskey they need, you sell yours and make yourself a lot of money. And you know what? You've done nothing illegal. Oh baby, this game is aggressive, and I don't mean the aggressive kind of aggressive, more kind of like a passive aggressive. You're not really raining down fireballs onto your opponent's farms and burning them to cinder. No, you're kind of more like making gentle moves and just placing a piece and going, do you see what I did there? Do you see that? Because that, do you understand the implications of what's going on? Yes. Maps! I know that Scotland looks big because of all of these hexagons, but actually it turns out it is a very, very crowded place. And I know that this map might look a little bit like blah, and there's not really much going on. Some green, some blue, and that's it. There's actually quite a bit to all of these little hexes because, first of all, well, you want to build things close to your opponents, because if you build something right next to them, then you get to leech off whatever resources they're producing. You don't get them for free, but you get to buy them at a discounted cost, which can be a powerful move. But you also don't want to be close to your opponents so they don't take advantage of that. But at the same time, you kind of want to be close to the center where everyone is there. But also you want to migrate towards the edges where powerful bonuses lie. But at the same time, you want to build on cheap spots because some places are cheaper and some are more expensive. But at the same time, if you build at a cheap place, it's usually surrounded by expensive places. And there's so many decisions to make, and you can only do one thing at a time, because as soon as you do something, your opponents get to do something, and just because you've placed a piece, they can anticipate what your plan is and then kind of go off of that and get in there just before you will get to do your thing. They'll get to do their thing, and they'll do the thing that you wanted to do, and you're like, I didn't get to do it. It's your fault. It's you. I'm looking at you. Because forget about maps. It's all about maths. Or math. There is just the one mathematic. But it's so easy to lose yourself in this puzzle of optimization, of starting your own self-sustaining economy based on dairy, meat, and bread. What's better? Buying a farm or actually just buying the resources that that farm produces? I don't know. Okay, give me a second. I'll try and work this out. Okay, so if I was to buy a farm that produces grain, that would cost me 18 plus the land, so that's 22. But that produces Scotland, 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 Scotland. How many?
Hello, 911. My husband's been murdered. By math.
Look, you don't have to play Clans of Caledonia that way, and for most of you, in fact, I recommend that you don't, unless of course you are a group of hyper-competitive mathematicians who decided to prove to each other who's better on the battlefield of board games rather than solving important math problems or whatever it is that you do. But as long as we are talking numbers, I want to bring up how Clans of Caledonia manages to achieve so much with so little. Not only is it tiny, here's a copy of Gloomhaven for scale, but it is amazing how much it manages to fit inside this little box in comparison to your any average mid-weight Eurogame and a Ticket to Ride box. And it doesn't cut any corners when it comes to quality. But more importantly, if we compare it to a game we reviewed last week, which is nothing alike, Rising Sun, what's really incredible is how much they are the polar opposite of how much they give you as a player. In terms of power. In games, we are used to being rewarded for something cool that we do, for going that extra mile and achieving something that isn't very easy to achieve, and Clans of Caledonia also has this, but in a very peculiar way. Let's say that you've built all 4 of the possible cow farms, which is way more cows than anyone needs, and a heavy investment into methane. You get a reward for that. You get to draw these free new contract tiles and choose one of them. The thing is, sometimes you have to pay for these contracts And for this reward, you still also have to pay the exact same amount. The only bonus that you get is that you get to choose from 3 new ones rather than the 8 that are already available, and it doesn't cost you an action, and you can take as many actions as you want as long as you can pay for things. So it is really a very insignificant bonus, but you have to fight hard for it to win at this game. It feels at times like the designer of the game is actually sitting next to you, watching everything that you do, and anytime you're about to have fun, they go,
Nein, you're having too much of the fun. Stop that right now.
What I don't want you to think is that this is a criticism. This is just an observation that we made playing the game, and we feel like it's an observation that's going to resonate with some people. But there is something to be said about this minimalist approach, is that these little nudges make big waves, big consequences, and it certainly translates into a very tight design that will feel like it's rewarding when you make just the right nudge. And of course, because it's so open, you can make any nudges you like. And what I would love to do right now is to tell you that there are no wrong nudges. You can do whatever you want. Until you inevitably do make the wrong move and then regret all of the life decisions that you made that led up to it. And one of the decisions I don't regret is recommending Clans of Caledonia, because I thought it was an excellent game, and whilst it does make some obvious missteps like a really convoluted scoring mechanism in what is effectively a pretty simple Euro game, if I had to hesitate, if I had to find a real fault, is I would have to say, if you haven't played many Euro games yet and you haven't played the games that have directly inspired this, like the area control element of Terra Mystica or the tight design and, well, the Clemens Franz artwork of Agricola, I would probably recommend trying those first, simply because they have a little bit more meat on their bones. But if you're a seasoned Eurogamer, you'll find all the wool you want to wrap yourself in a warm Eurogame blanket. And I'm not just saying this because A, I really love Scotland, and B, well, the designer of the game is sitting right next to me, and if I don't say nice things, they will do something so horrible that, why don't I just show you?
This game is very good, and if you thought this review was very good and you liked the silly German accent, you should subscribe and do the thing and subscribe.
I'm so sorry. Wait. This is kind of awkward because it's a different day, I'm wearing a different shirt, and this is a second end credit plug. That's uncalled for, I know, but we wouldn't do it if it wasn't very, very important to us. We are on Kickstarter right now to continue funding this channel, and if you enjoyed this video and if you enjoy what we do, it's really important to us that you support us financially, because this is the only way that professional board game reviews can keep going, which is what we've been doing so hard and so diligently for 4 years without any compromises. So if you believe in that, if you believe in this hobby, if you believe and see the value in us continuing, please consider supporting our Kickstarter. Thank you so very, very much.